Hello, everyone. Today, I want to make a video about the question I get asked the most. What was my diet and nutrition plan back in 2015 and what it is now? So I say this back in 2015, I took myself off chemo to treat myself basically organically, to treat myself holistically, and I use every natural method I could as opposed to chemo. Now, I do not recommend taking yourself off chemo. Everything I am telling you today is stuff I did. I am not a doctor. I am not telling you this is what's going to cure you. I'm only telling you what was my plan and what I was successful with. Because again, I did take myself off chemo. I was told I had 2 to 4 years to live, and the diet I incorporated into my lifestyle made me cancer free for another 7 years. Actually, what was amazing was from being diagnosed with cancer and saying I had 2 to 4 years to live, 6 months later, by using this diet, I was cancer free. Again, this is my results. Results for people may vary, but I just want to explain what I did. So, one thing I am a firm believer in is you change your diet, you change your life. My whole life, I've been involved in fitness, nutrition planning, coaching, and I put a big emphasis on that when I got diagnosed. Now, I knew every time I went to a doctor, I always thought it was strange that they never asked what I ate. You go to a mechanic, they ask what type of fuel you stick in your car, or what type of oil you use. But a doctor's, well, for most part, from my experience, they never asked what I ate or when I would go with my mom. They never asked what she ate, what she put in her body. And I always thought that was very strange. So when I got diagnosed, and they was giving chemo. I was going through radiation, and the chemo was really kicking my butt. I decided I was going to research every natural cancer fighting remedy and food I could find. And this was basically my program. So what I did was I started off with just researching like crazy, and I did a combination of the ketogenic and Gerson diet. So now these two diets are basically very different, but they are very great when fighting cancer. So the Gerson diet was developed by a guy named Max Gerson in the 1950s. The diet is an organic plant-based diet. It naturally reactivates the body's incredible ability to heal itself uh, from a diet that's high in minerals, enzymes, and micronutrients, and it's extremely low in sodium and fats. Now, this diet incorporates things like raw juices, coffee enemas, a slew of natural supplements, but it is incredible at defeating cancer. However, when you're fighting brain cancer, there's no better diet than a ketogenic. So back in 2015, I really tried to toe the line between these two. In 2022, and what I'm on now is I went straight ketogenic because I have, a lot more knowledge in the field. I have a lot more knowledge of my body. And I was basically told flat out from my doctors, you go straight ketogenic. And, I have some great doctors, my neuro-oncologist, he was a top guy from Honor Health here in Arizona in Scottsdale, and then my neurosurgeon from the Barrow Brain Center, which is a top brain institute in Scottsdale as well. So this time I went completely ketogenic. But let me talk about the 2015 diet because what I did there was, what kept me cancer free for 7 years. I'm a firm belief of that. Again, I did take myself out chemo. I don't recommend, but this diet that I put together, I researched pretty heavily. So the first thing what I did was I kept it all organic. So I incorporated a mix between the two diets. I did a lot of minerals, I did a lot of juicing, and I ate a lot of, lean, healthy meats. So first thing was I had lots of organic meat. I mean, it was basically chicken, chicken, and more chicken. Then I did fish. I had to make sure my fish was all wild caught. I made sure it was like wild caught salmon, cod, halibut I used. Any beef I had, I made sure it was grass fed beef. made sure everything again was organic. I wanted only clean things going in my body. I didn't want any chemicals. So I made sure to really put an emphasis on that. And I avoided anything that came in like an aluminum can, like tuna or sardines, and any kind of fish that was farm raised. And I incorporate a lot of healthy fats. So I did avocados, nuts, walnuts, pistachios. All the oils I use were, like organic virgin olive oil, coconut oil, MCT oil. MCT oil stands for medium chain triglycerides, and which was great because now actually I incorporate that really heavily into my diet now. And actually in the morning, which is funny. So my old lifestyle, because I was involved in fitness and health, I would never do more than 10 grams of saturated fat a day. That was what I tried to keep, under. Now, in my morning coffee, I just with my coconut oil, I'm way above that. But that's just a side note. So I also did a bunch of vegetables. I called it like the rainbow of nutrients: broccoli, arugula, Brussels sprouts. I made sure all my vegetables, were like green leafy vegetables. I either consumed them raw or I juiced them. And juicing was big back in 2015 when I did this. And I kept this up for around 5 years, this routine. So the things that at this time that I made sure I wanted to avoid was I wanted to avoid things that would cause inflammation, because inflammation is a small amount of inflammation is healthy, but inflammation overall in heavy amounts is really bad for you. So at this time, back in 2015, I did take sugar out of my diet. I didn't know what I would be told this year from my doctors, that sugar actually is probably one of the worst things for you. It actually increases cancer cells by 18%, and the research is pretty is pretty thorough on that. And I wasn't just told that; I was basically edicted that from my neurosurgeon and my neuro-oncologist, and they said that I would have to avoid sugar for the rest of my life, which is kind of tough because I do have a big sweet tooth, but I really kind of this time I went into, I was able to find little snacks and little treats that I could use that basically use something called a net carb calculation. I don't want to get into that too much right now because I just really want to talk about my diet back in 2015. So back in 2015, I did avoid sugar. I did stay away from dairy, any milk, cheese, anything that came from other animals, another animal's milk, essentially. I learned that we're basically the only animal that drinks another animal's milk. So I steered clear of that. In 2022, I really did not, because I was on a keto diet. So, you're kind of slim pickings when you're in that keto diet. So you're really looking for anything to eat and that doesn't have carbs or sugar, and cheese is a big one. So I did partake in that quite a bit. And of course, I avoided alcohol at this time. And back in 2015, I really did try to cut my carbohydrates down as well. Chips, bread, pastas, anything with flour I tried to avoid, which is similar to what I do now. And anything, especially with white flour. And so, like I said, if you must have that carb fix, because I am a carb person, you want to keep it low on the glycemic index scale and really find foods that, utilize that net carb calculation. And just to give a brief example of that, because I know I just mentioned it before, what the net carb calculation is basically it's like the amount of fiber that you have played into the amount of carbohydrates. So if you have, say, something that has 10 carbohydrates and 8 grams of fiber in it, the net calculation will be 2 carbohydrates. And I can go into that a little more in another video on why that net calculation actually works, that net carb calculation. So at this time, back in 2015, I made sure to avoid all processed sugars and artificial sweeteners. I mean, those things are essentially almost like poisoning your system. I mean, I know we all love a Diet Coke every now and then, but we evolved, and our diet has evolved with us throughout the years without any of these chemicals. It's only really been in the last 60, 70 years that all these chemicals have crept their way into our diet. So that stuff our body is really not accustomed to. So get rid of any processed sugar and artificial sweeteners. I did that. That's one thing I really stayed really true to, which is hard sometimes. Like I said, we all love going to a movie and getting a Diet Coke. And I did stop drinking alcohol, and I stopped drinking alcohol again. I did all this for the first 5 years, from around 2015 to 2020. Now, the reason I stopped doing all of this, and I'll keep going through it, is that when you're 5 years cancer free, you think you're kind of in the clear. And I kind of made that mistake because then 2 years later, everything came roaring back. But again, hindsight's 2020, and I don't know if this was the thing that actually kept my cancer away, or it was the radiation I did before, things like that. So I really don't know, but I like to believe this did play a critical role in me being cancer free for 7 years. Now, again, it goes without saying, avoid tobacco, don't smoke. At this time, I tried to avoid caffeine as much as I could, but I did use caffeine from like green tea, the green tea plant, which is not bad for you actually, because you want to really try to stay in an alkaline state through this. And coffee is very acidic, so I tried to look for food, or I mean drinks or caffeine products that weren't acidic, and green tea, which was the one that I found was the best one. Now, all these foods I just mentioned, like the chips, the bread, the pasta, the white flour, all the carbs, the processed sugars, sweeteners, the alcohol, all those foods are highly acidic, and cancer thrives in an acidic atmosphere. So, really, my goal at that time was to get into an alkaline state. And so I really wanted to avoid foods that cause inflammation, because that can be the body's biggest vice sometime, especially in regards to illness. So one thing that I did was I hydrated. I drank tons of water. I made sure I had at least a gallon a day of alkaline water. And I would go and get the bottles, the alkaline bottles from like the grocery store, and drink those as much as I could. And then I would drink normal water throughout the day as well. But if I could do all alkaline water, that's what I would try to stick with, try to keep my body in that alkaline state as much as possible. Now, so just to briefly touch on some of the supplements, and what I will do is, if I can get to 100 subscribers, I'll post my entire diet online for free on this site, because I have used this diet for others. I've done health coaching, and so this diet I have charged for it before, all the supplements, the treatments. I'm not going in depth with everything, but if I do get to 100 subscribers, I will post this diet for free on my page. So some of the supplements I took turmeric, of course, organic. There's over 2,000 published studies showing its cancer fighting abilities. I did things like matcha green tea. I did things like colostrum, mothers, they call it mother's first milk or mother's milk. I would take a scoop and pack it into my gum or into my cheek and just let it dissolve there in the morning. There's some great benefits to it. It's required for like immune system development. It reduces like inflammation, collects free radicals, really protects the body from any harmful invading compounds. And there's a lot of other great properties to it. I don't want to, load you up with all this stuff. When I do post, when I do hit those 100 subscribers and I do post the diet, I will, list everything that these supplements really do for your body. But another thing about colostrum, it does exhibit some great cancer defense activities as well. And another thing I did was Malungai tea. They call it the tree of miracles, has 3 times the potassium of a banana. Of course, I did fish oil. It's great for treating harmful inflammation. This time in 2022 and 2023, I did not use fish oil because I was on a blood thinner. So if you're on a blood thinner, you want to use fish oil, make sure you consult with your physician. One thing that I really preach, and I have an article about, which I will put in the link, my published article, is aloe vera. Aloe vera is fabulous for brain tumors and really treating cancer. It's rich with amino acids, which are the building blocks of life. It's full of amazing benefits from like skin, blood, digestion, protein absorption. It's anti-inflammatory. I don't want to go too far into that. Check out my article and you can really read about the wonders of aloe vera. But one thing I did at this time was I read about this one particular aloe vera strand that was really powerful, had like, I forget the exact properties of it, but there was only two people in the US who had it, and one was in Las Vegas. And I was able to track down this guy and get that aloe vera plant from him. It was a liquid. So I took that, and that was something that I noticed some incredible effects. Just not, not by seeing my cancer disappear immediately, but just like how I felt. And another thing I did at this time, I did oxygen therapy, liquid oxygen drops, uh, oxygen. Cancer cells, they can't thrive in an oxygen laden environment. So that was something I did as well. And this is a lot of stuff I threw at it. There's more stuff as well, but I don't want to, again, just load you up with information. Again, if I get to that 100 subscriber, I will post this. So please tell all your friends to subscribe to my channel. But I do want to touch base, since I am focusing really on my 2015 diet, about my juicing. Now, I did juice 3 times a day. This was something, it was a little bit of a pain, but juicing is critical with that Gerson diet. And this was that combination of the Gerson and the ketogenic that I really tried to toe the line of. So I did juice 3 times a day. I made sure to avoid sugary juices. With these juices, it's a massive intake of vitamins, minerals, nutrients, micronutrients, lots of fiber. And, I would do that first juice with breakfast, and I would factor in the second juice around lunch and the third juice around dinner. And I would, use a bunch of different things, but I made sure everything I used was all like veggies without sugar. So like broccoli, spinach, kale, ginger, cucumber, garlic, things like that. So this essentially was my diet for 5 years. And this diet came from me researching cancer fighting foods in depthly. And I remember when I first announced I had cancer on Facebook, I got a lot of positive support, but I got a lot of tips on this kind of food and that kind of food. And what I recommend is, it's great that people give you tips, but always do your own research. Really look into everything, because one of the things I was told was apricot kernels, and later found out that apricot kernels, they have cyanide in it, and if you eat too much of that, it can be really harmful to your system. And I did not know that at the time. That was something that I discovered later on after I was already using it. So really just do your own due diligence when researching diets. Whenever you're eating anything, always check the nutrition facts, look at the label. And remember, everything that I am telling you was stuff that I did. I am not saying this is what cured my cancer. Again, I do not recommend taking yourself off chemo. Listen to your provider. The only reason I did that the first time, because I was really confident of my own my own abilities to find natural cancer fighting remedies. I did see my father, really wither away from cancer back in 2008 by being really aggressive. So I didn't want to be too aggressive. Again, I regret taking myself off chemo, because I know someone who had something even worse than I did, and they stayed on chemo for 2 years and then they were 12 years cancer free. So everything's relative. But that's kind of it, guys. Again, let's boost up that subscriber level. Tell everyone you can, like, subscribe, and share. I will, once I hit that 100 subscribers, I will post my diet with all the guidelines to it as well, the how to take the supplements that I did that I incorporated, and kind of everything that falls in line with what I put on. But please just remember that I am not a licensed physician. Everything I say, it's not meant to cure, mitigate, or treat disease. It's what I did, what I researched, and what was beneficial to me. All right, everyone. Thank you so much. Again, please like, subscribe, and share my channel. Let's get to that 100 subscriber bench point. All right. Thank you, guys, and let's keep up the fight.
Hello there. My name is Bruce Marin from Bruce Marin Celebrity Speakers and Entertainment in Las Vegas, the entertainment capital of the world. I am blessed beyond words. I have had my Celebrity Speakers Bureau for 50 years. We're celebrating our 50-year anniversary. And when we started 50 years ago, my first two entertainment clients were Michael Landon and Johnny Carson. And my first two sports clients were Muhammad Ali and Jackie Robinson. And I'm here now to talk to you about the incredible, the phenomenal, the amazing Danny Efron. And the reason I'm talking to you is I've been blessed to see the best speakers in the world. For 5 decades, I've seen all the best speakers in the world. And Danny will inspire and motivate you just like some of the greatest speakers in that field that I've ever booked. Legendary Les Brown, I booked him many, many times. Dr. Wayne Dyer, I have booked him over 50 times. Jack Canfield, Chicken Soup for the Soul, I booked him over 50 times. And Bob Proctor, the legend Bob Proctor. And the reason I'm mentioning these legendary motivational and inspirational speakers is that Danny Efron is in their league. He's an inspirational and motivational speaker. And the reason I'm talking to you right now is I hope that when I'm done, you'll consider booking Danny Efron. And I want right now to I have a very successful, exciting story to share with you. I had the pleasure right here in Las Vegas of booking Danny Efron to the most prestigious business group right here in Las Vegas. And it was at Lowry's restaurant in Las Vegas. Danny gave a 45-minute talk. And at the end, when he was all done, he got a thunderous standing ovation for over 2 minutes. It touched my heart to see how Danny had impacted that audience. And after that amazing standing ovation, Danny stayed by for over an hour, meeting all the hundreds of people that were at that event. And to make it even a better story, Danny was such a successful speaker that day that everybody in this big business group in Vegas said, we want to bring Danny Efron back again. So yes, we booked Danny Efron a second time here in Las Vegas. And do you know what happened? Even a longer standing ovation at the second event. So what I'm going to tell all of you right now, take some time and book Danny Efron, whether it's a keynote speaker or to come and do a meet and greet, to do a workshop, to do a breakout session, to be a trainer. I'm just letting you know, with 50 years of experience in my field, when it comes to inspiring and motivating audiences, Danny Efron is as good as I've ever seen in my life. So I can help make you smile if you'll take the time, contact us, and let's book Danny for a keynote presentation. He is the best in the world, and I say that from my heart. And I thank all of you for listening to my words, and let's book Danny Efron. Thank you.